Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the auspicious occasion of Sri Krishna Janmashtami, we're reading one sloka of the 9th canto after Srila Sukadeva Goswami has described the Raghu and the Soma dynasty. At the very end of the last chapter, chapter 24, he now begins the description of Sri Krishna's appearance. Text 66. Jato gata pitri grihad vrajam editarto. Hatva ripunsuta satani krito rudara. Utpadyateshu purusha kratubi samijje. Atmanam atmanigamam pratayan janeshu. Jato gata pritri grihad vrajam editarto. Hatva ripunsuta satani krito rudaraha. Utpadyateshu purusha kratubi samijje. Atmanam atmanigamam pratayan janeshu. Jato gata priti grihad vrajam editarto. Hatva ripunsuta satani krito rudharaha. Utpadyateshu purusha kratubi samijje. Atmanam atmanigamam pratayan janeshu. Mataji's? Jataha, after taking birth as the son of Vasudeva. Gataha, went away. Pitrigrihat, from the houses of his father. Brajam, to Vrindavan. Edita Artaha, to exalt the position of Vrindavan. Hatva, killing there. Ripun, many demons. Sutashatani, hundreds of sons. Krita Urudhara, accepting many thousands of wives, the best of women. Utpadya, begot. Teshu, in them. Purushaha, the Supreme Person who exactly resembles a human being. Kratubihi, by many sacrifices. Samije, worshipped. Atmanam, himself, because he is the person worshipped by all sacrifices. Atmanigamam, exactly according to the ritualistic ceremonies of the Vedas. Pratayan, expanding the Vedic principles. Janeshu, among the people in general. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, known as Lila Purushottam, appeared as the son of Vasudeva, but immediately left his father's home and went to Vrindavan to expand his loving relationship with his confidential devotees. In Vrindavan, the Lord killed many demons, and afterwards he returned to Dwarka, where, according to Vedic principles, he married many wives who were the best of women, begot through them hundreds of sons, and performed sacrifices for his own worship to establish the principles of householder life. We can repeat together. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, known as Lila Purushottam, appeared as the son of Vasudeva, but immediately left his father's home and went to Vrindavan to expand his loving relationship with his confidential devotees. In Vrindavan, the Lord killed many demons, and afterwards he returned to Dwarka, where, according to Vedic principles, he married many wives who were the best of women, begot through them hundreds of sons, and performed sacrifices for his own worship to establish the principles of householder life. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedaischa sarver aham eva vedya. By all the Vedas, it is Krishna who is to be known. Lord Sri Krishna, setting an example by his own behavior, performed many ritualistic ceremonies described in the Vedas and established the principles of Grihastha life by marrying many wives and begetting many children, just to show people in general how to be happy by living according to Vedic principles. The center of Vedic sacrifice is Krishna. Vedeshcha sarver aham eva vedya. To advance in human life, human society must follow the Vedic principles personally demonstrated by Lord Krishna in his householder life. The real purpose of Krishna's appearance, however, was to manifest how one can take part in loving affairs with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Reciprocations of loving affairs in ecstasy are possible only in Vrindavan. Therefore, just after his appearance as a son of Vasudeva, the Lord immediately left for Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, the Lord not only took part in loving affairs with his father and mother, the gopis and the cowherd boys, but also gave liberation to many demons by killing them. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:8, Paritunaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. The Lord appears in order to protect the devotees and kill the demons. This was fully exhibited by his personal behavior. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is understood by Arjuna to be Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, the eternal, transcendental, supreme person. Here also we find the words, Utpadya Teshu Purushaha. Therefore, it is to be concluded that the absolute truth is Purusha, a person. The impersonal feature is but one of the features of his personality. Ultimately, he is a person. He is not impersonal. And not only is he Purusha, a person, but he is the Lila Purushottam, the best of all persons. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantekam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adigor Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada, by his causeless mercy, he sacrificed his entire life to present to us the Srimad Bhagavatam and the process of devotional service. Although he was living here very comfortably in Vrindavan, trying to execute the order of his spiritual master, he knew that he had to fulfill the instructions given to him by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And therefore, he felt that the first thing he had to do was translate Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the essence of all the Vedic literatures. For 6 years, he sat here at the Radha Damodar temple and began the translation, completing the first canto in 3 volumes. And then he felt that he was prepared to take the Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. At that time, he left in 1965. We've just been celebrating Prabhupada's departure, his arrival. And after struggling for 4 years in America, from 1965 to 1970, Prabhupada decided, within that time he had 2 heart attacks, he had a stroke that severely debilitated him, he had to return here to Vrindavan just to regain his health. And when he came back to America, he realized that the clock was ticking. He didn't know how much time he had before Krishna would take him away, the inevitable. So he decided at that time, after establishing several temples in America Europe, Canada, that he had to present the Srimad Bhagavatam in full, and he didn't know if he would be able to complete it in his lifetime. So by that time, we had the 3764 Watsika Avenue, which Prabhupada established as the world headquarters of ISKCON. And he decided he would sit there at his world headquarters and he would translate the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in summary form. The 10th canto has 90 chapters, thousands and thousands of slokas. And Prabhupada, with each sloka, he made a different paragraph in each of the 90 chapters. So in Prabhupada's introduction to the Krishna book, he explains that this is the Bhav Oshada for the living entities suffering in Kali Yuga. It is the medicine, the remedy for this repetition of birth and death, bhava. So therefore, as Sukadeva Goswami was reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, he came to the 9th canto, wherein he described, as per the rules and regulations of presenting a Purana, he described the different dynasties of the kings. He described the Raghu dynasty, which is the Sun dynasty, and then he went on to describe the Soma dynasty, the Somavanks, in which Sri Krishna personally appeared. Although Yadu Maharaj was not so much acclaimed in the previous cantos, in this canto, because Yadu, he refused the order of his father to give up his youth, therefore he knew in advance that Sri Krishna would appear in his dynasty. So Sukadeva Goswami, with his perfect intelligence, he described the entire dynastic succession of all of the kings coming from Yadu. And finally he came to the contemporary dynasties. And he described that there was a king named Surasena. And Surasena, he ruled Mathura and the province called Surasena. And Surasena, he had many sons and daughters, but amongst them, Vasudeva was the chief. Now, Vasudeva, being here under the auspices of his father, naturally, as a Kshatriya, he was going to marry. And he chose to marry from another section of the Yadu dynasty, the daughters of, his name was, I forget his name right now, but he gave birth to 2 sons, and they were Devaki and Ugrasena. So Devaki and Ugrasena, they were brothers. And Ugrasena, he had 10 sons. The most powerful amongst them, unfortunately, was Kamsa. He was the first son, and we'll hear about him as we go on. Devaki, he also had several sons, and he had several daughters. So Vasudeva, he decided that he would marry the principal of those daughters, and that was Devaki. So because of the closeness of the 2 brothers and the children growing up together, Kamsa considered his sister, cousin sister, as they call here, to be Devaki. Therefore, when Vasudeva decided to marry Devaki, and out of love for his daughter, Devaki gave huge, wonderful marriage ceremony, gigantic dowry, and when Vasudeva was coming in the chariot with his newly wedded wife, Devaki, Kamsa, he decided to take up the reins of that chariot, because that's the Vedic system. In the Vedic system, when the daughter is married, she then leaves the home of her father and resides in the home now of her husband. And she doesn't return to her father's home. So we'll just hear at this point Kamsa, why he was the way he was. Because most of us know what Kamsa did after hearing the prophetic sound vibrations from the sky. Devaki was prepared to leave her father's home in Mathura and go to the home of Vasudeva. Now, the wife of Ugrasen, her name was Padmavati. She was from the province of Vidarbha. We've heard about Vidarbha because Rukmini also came from that province. And she was exceptionally beautiful, qualified, and she was married to Ugrasen. Her father was very attached to her. And after the marriage of Ugrasen and Padmavati, they also became very attached to one another, and Padmavati would never leave the side of her husband. But Padmavati's father was feeling separation from his daughter. That's also very natural, and there is a system that the wife, she spends some time in her husband's home, and sometimes she goes to visit her father. Even Srimati Radharani, Sridham would come, give so many gifts, and ask if Radharani could come home to see Kirtida and Brishubhanu for some time. So Satyaketu, her father, made a request to Ugrasen that allow my daughter to come and visit me. And she very happily went back to the home of her father, because in the home of the father you're treated like a princess. You don't have to serve anyone. You're being served. You have all of your girlfriends there. You can wander all you want. So she was really enjoying herself at the home of her father, dressing very nicely with ornaments and just having a wonderful time with her girlfriends. And she wandered one day into a mountain forest. And meanwhile, in these skyways, we know that according to the creation, there are two types of human beings. One is devotional, that's the demigods, the devas, and the other is demoniac, the asuras. So the asuras, they're considered even superior to the human beings on Burloka. We're on Mrityuloka. And they know the Vedas perfectly well. Even Kamsa, he understood everything about the transmigration of the soul. And the demons, they assume that they were created by the Supreme Lord to understand the Vedas perfectly and to analyze if any Brahmin, if any servant, if any woman is disobeying the Vedic injunctions, the demons take it upon themselves to punish that person severely. They consider it their service to harass the devotees in that way so that they can teach them a good lesson, not to disobey the Vedas. So as Padmavati was enjoying with her girlfriends in this mountain forest, an associate of Kuvera, who was in the line of Ravana, was flying over in his airplane, and he saw the beautiful Padmavati, very nicely decorated with her girlfriends, enjoying. And he was smitten by the beauty of Padmavati. And because he had demoniac powers, just like so many of the demons in Kamsa's court, they were able to change their form. He took the form of Padmavati's husband, Ugrasen, who was far away, yojanas and yojanas away. And he came to that forest, and he called her to his side. She, being an innocent young girl, she couldn't understand that this was a demon in disguise. And she went to this man who she thought was her husband, and she allowed him to seduce her. But at the time of seduction, she could understand by different marks on his body, the absence of marks, this was not actually her husband. And she became terribly ashamed and furious. Who are you? Why have you done this? Why have you impersonated my saintly husband? And then Gobila, he chastised her. You think you're a chaste wife? Here you are, you've left your husband, come to the home of your father, enjoying, dressing very nicely. I have come to teach you a lesson, and I have given into you, your womb, the germ of my seed, and he will be the greatest demon that disturbs all the three worlds. And this will be a lesson to you to never leave the side of your husband. So then Gobila left, and Padmavati was crying, and all of her girlfriends came. She told them what happened. They went to the father and mother, told them what happened. The father immediately sent her back to Ugrasen without informing anyone on that side. When Padmavati returned to Ugrasen's home, she found out every way possible, how can I abort this fetus? She took herbs. She did everything there was possible. And after many, many days of trying to abort the fetus finally spoke to her. He said, there's no need for you to take these herbs. I will not be aborted, so don't waste your energy. You've heard of the great demon named Kalanimi, who was able to fight with all of the great demons, and I was killed by Vishnu. Now I have come into your womb because I will take revenge against this same Vishnu that will soon appear in the Yadu dynasty. There's nothing you can do to stop my birth. So then Padmavati, she didn't tell her husband, she didn't tell anyone on the Mathura side who this fetus was. And the great demon Kamsa was then born as the first son, so-called son, of Ugrasen. So now, this most powerful of all demons, who by that time had arranged all the demons within Bharatvarsha to come under his control, he had made them parts of his ministry, he had befriended all the demons and had become the most powerful king in Bharatvarsha. He was holding the reins of the chariot of Vasudeva and Devaki. Now the demigods, they were watching all of this from above, and they understood who Kamsa was. They understood his purpose, and they were very anxious to have Vishnu come and appear to kill this great demon. So from the skyways, a voice came that Kamsa, you are such a fool. You are driving the chariot of your sister, but you do not know that the eighth son, not son, the eighth Garbha, they specifically did not say Sutta, they said Garbha, will kill you. So Kamsa, being a demon can do anything for his own self-preservation and his ambition. He was holding the reins, and he had the whip in his right hand, the reins in his left hand. He dropped the reins. He grabbed the hair of Devaki. He dropped the whip. He picked up his sword, and within an instant, he was ready to slaughter his own sister by chopping off her head. Vasudeva, being the greatest diplomat and having such a sense of honor, everyone respected him. He had to think very quickly how to save his wife's life. And because he knew all of the principles of diplomacy, just within that time, when Kamsa had raised up his sword, he said, Kamsa, you are the most brilliant gem of the entire Bhoja dynasty. You amongst all others are the most powerful. He began to praise him, and of course Kamsa, he pricked up his ears, and he stopped. Oh, he's praising me. He has a nice opinion of me. I should listen. And then Vasudeva explained to him that you are so powerful. You are so kind and merciful to all the living entities. This is your own sister, and it's her wedding day, no less. You don't have anything to fear of your sister. You only have to worry about, if there are any children, the 8th child. So please, don't kill your sister, because this will mar your excellent reputation as a great ruler. It will not bode well for you if you kill your sister on this auspicious day. This didn't convince Kamsa at all, because according to diplomacy, if you have an enemy, you have to kill that enemy to the very root. Dig out the enemy at the root, and then you have nothing to fear. So Kamsa naturally believed, if I kill the root, the mother, then there's no question of children. Then Kamsa went on, this is Sama, Dhamma, and not Danda, the third one, Veda. So then he was glorifying him, Sama, and then Dhamma, trying to pacify him. It wasn't working. Then he used Veda, that you know everything. You know all the Vedas. You know that this body is temporary. Along with the body comes the death. And you know that according to your activities, you will have to take a next birth. If you perform this greatly sinful activity of killing your own sister on her wedding day, you will have to go to hell. So it doesn't bode well for you. He was then this beta, this separation that, all right, you're very great, but it won't look good for you if you kill her. So then that also wasn't working, but Kamsa was listening. So then Vasudeva, in a time of great distress, life-threatening, you'll say anything to stop the situation. He said, first and foremost, I have to save the life of my wife. So then he promised Kamsa that I promise, because everyone knew that his word of honor was gold, I promise you, any children born of Devaki, I will bring to you, and you do whatever you wish with them. So Kamsa, understanding the honor of Vasudeva, he believed him. He put down the sword, and he agreed not to kill Devaki at this time. So they went to their home. Devaki and Vasudeva, within a year, produced one child, a son. And Vasudeva, according to his word of honor, brought that son to Kamsa. Kamsa, by this time, he had understood, yes, Vasudeva is true to his word. He has brought the son. And in a mood of compassion, he said, I have no interest in this first son. I'm only interested in the 8th son. You can take your son back. Vasudeva was very happy to hear that, but he didn't trust Kamsa one bit. Now Narada Muni, who is always interested in seeing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, when he heard that Kamsa had exhibited compassion, he became very disturbed. Because if Kamsa displays saintly qualities, then there won't be any reason for Vishnu to come and kill him. And everyone wanted Vishnu to come as soon as possible to kill Kamsa and all the demons. So Narada Muni, he came and had a private talk with Kamsa. That Kamsa, you're not aware of this, but I'm just coming from the heavenly planets. And you know that the demigods are your sworn enemies. And I overheard what their plan is. And because I have affection for you, I'm going to tell you what they're planning. So then he described how Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth, she had become so much afflicted by the demoniac rulers in the garb of kings who were torturing her with their demoniac activities, that because Mother Earth had once earlier been saved by Vishnu in the form of Varahadev, she now decided that she needed once again for the Lord to appear to save her. So she assumed the form of a cow, and she went to Mount Meru. She didn't go to Satyalok. Brahma is also residing at the top of Mount Meru. And she, with tears in her eyes, she explained the calamity situation on the planet Earth. And all the demigods, along with Lord Brahma, heard her. So Brahma, he understood, yes, I know this is what's going on the planet Earth, but I am in charge of creation. Vishnu is in charge of maintenance, and Shiva, he's in charge of destruction. So this is a job for Vishnu, because he has to maintain paritunaya sadhunam, vinashaya chaduskritam. So, and then he also realized that there's going to be some destruction. So he decided that he would take Lord Shiva, all of the demigods, and Mother Earth to implore Vishnu to come and save Mother Earth from this calamitous situation. So Lord Vishnu, from Lord Krishna comes Balaram, from Balaram comes the first Chaturvyuha, from that Chaturvyuha comes Narayan, from Narayan comes the second Chaturvyuha, from that Shankarshan comes Karanodakshaya Vishnu, from Karanodakshaya Vishnu comes Garbhodakshaya Vishnu at the bottom of each universe. And within each universe is Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who resides in Svetadvip, residing on Anantadev in the ocean of milk. So Brahmaji and all the demigods and Mother Earth, they went to the shore at Svetadvip of the milk ocean. And Brahmaji, Tene Brahma Hridaya Kade, we know from the beginning, the first sloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Lord Brahma, from within his heart, the Supreme Lord gave him transcendental knowledge. So Brahma sat in meditation at the shore of the milk ocean, and through telepathic message, Sri Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, assured Brahma that he would certainly appear and that all of the demigods should, for his pleasure, appear in the dynasty of the Yadus, because the Supreme Lord would be appearing in the Yadu Vanks. So when Brahmaji heard this message from Vishnu, he related this message to all the demigods and said, you and your wives should all take birth in the Yadu, Bhoja, Andaka, Vrishni, all of the dynasties, and assist the Supreme Lord when he comes here to save Mother Earth. So they dutifully began taking their birth. Now Narada Muni is explaining this to Kamsa. Kamsa, of course, didn't know any of this, that all the demigods had taken birth in all of these dynasties. Narada Muni also told Kamsa at this time, even the residents of Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj, all the cowherd men, they have all come from the heavenly planets. And all of these demigods have taken birth for one purpose only, to kill the demons. And you are the foremost of the demons. And therefore Vishnu is planning to come personally and kill you. Therefore, my dear Kamsa, you can't trust anyone in any of the Yadu dynasties, including the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Now, when Kamsa heard this news, he realized all of these family members are my enemies. They have all come to kill the demons. So therefore, he changed his plan. He decided he would start to persecute all of the residents of Mathura, all of the different descendants of the Yadu, Andhaka, Vrishni, Bhoja, all of the different demigods who had taken birth in those dynasties. And he decided that he would lock up Vasudeva and Devaki in chains in the prison house and wait until that 8th child is born. So all of the different members of the Yadu dynasty, when they started to be severely harassed by Kamsa, the Brahmins were no longer allowed to perform their sacrifices. Everyone had to completely come under the control of Kamsa. And the members of the Yadu dynasty, they started to flee into different kingdoms, the Kuru kingdom, Madra kingdom. Even they went to the caves in the mountains just to hide from Kamsa. Kamsa then, he even locked up his own father, Ugrasena, and he took over the entire kingdom of Surasen, Mathura, and all of the Yadu kings. He made such strong alliance with all of the demons throughout Bharatvarsha that no one was as powerful as him. He also made alliance with Jarasandha by marrying Jarasandha's 2 daughters. So therefore, he had now become the most powerful king in all of Bharatvarsha. And he was waiting, watching for these sons to be born from Devaki. He changed his mind, he killed that first son, and then year after year, Devaki and Vasudeva produced one son. 6 sons. These 6 sons, we learned from Srila Prabhupada's purports, that these 6 sons had originally been the sons of Marichi, and they were undergoing a curse given by Hiranyakashipu that they would be killed by their own uncle because it's a long story. We'll concentrate on the present subject today. So these 6 sons, they were actually liberated by being killed by Kamsa. And then it was, now people may ask, why, if you're locked up in chains in a prison, would you ever want to have children who are doomed to be killed? Vasudeva and Devaki specifically had those children because they wanted the 8th son to be born who would finally kill Kamsa, because that was what the prediction was. So therefore, despite all miseries, distress, one child after another, they gave birth to. Kamsa came in a rage, would pick up the child by the feet, dash it against a stone, and kill each and every one of the first 6 children. Now, the Supreme Lord Krishna, it was time for him to appear. And since he had already sent all the demigods and his eternal associates to take birth, now he was going to send his 2 closest associates. That was his brother, Balaram, Shankarshan, and his Yogamaya potency, from whom all of the energies emanate. So he first called Yogamaya, and he explained to her, I want you to take birth as the daughter of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda in Braja, in Mahavan, Gokul. And when you take birth, because in the spiritual world there's only one energy, that's Yogamaya. But when the Yogamaya expands in the material world, she's worshipped as Mahamaya. So Krishna explained to Yogamaya that when you take your birth here, you will be worshipped by all the materialists to get all types of material prosperity. You will become very famous in different Shakti pits where you will be worshipped. And your first task, even before you take birth, is I want you to take the next embryo that will be placed into the womb of Devaki and transfer that embryo into the womb of one of Vasudev's other principal queens named Rohini. Now Vasudev, because he was in the prison, he had 16 wives, Devaki was just one of them. He sent all of his other wives into hiding. And he sent Rohini to the home of his half-brother, Nanda Maharaj. He felt that she could be safely kept there until Kamsa is killed. So Rohini was living in the home of Nanda Maharaj with Yashoda Devi. Yogamaya, she took it upon herself she circumambulated the Supreme Lord, Tatastu. She went upon her assignment. And when Sri Baladev, Shankarshan, was then appearing into the womb of Devaki, Yogamaya attracted that embryo into the womb of Rohini in Braja. And he completed the pregnancy in the womb of Rohini. Now, Devaki and Vasudev. It was announced in Mathura that the seventh child had miscarried and the child had died. So Kamsa, he also accepted that as a miscarriage, but he became more and more fearful that this was the seventh. Now the eighth is doomed to come. And day and night, he was just meditating on his enemy, Vishnu. Now my death will appear. And he was just waiting to grab that baby again and dash it to the stone, just as he had done with all the other babies. No one could stop him. So he was thinking of Krishna, Vishnu, day and night, fully Krishna conscious, but in a negative way. So he wasn't considered to be Krishna conscious. So now Vasudeva and Devaki, they're within the prison chamber, and the Supreme Lord, he doesn't have to appear as we all have appeared through exchange of discharges. He can appear anywhere, anytime, any way he wants, because he is Karana Karanam. He's the cause of all causes. So Krishna, he first appeared in the mind of Vasudeva. We have to remember that the mind is not located in the brain. The mind is located in the heart of the living entity. So he first appeared in the mind located in the heart of Vasudeva. And we can see here very nicely, when the sun is setting, it's like a red ball at the if at sunset time you're on the main road here, the sun sets at the end of the Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg as a red ball. And when the sun is setting, the moon is rising in the eastern horizon. And the brilliance of the sun is reflected upon the moon at that time. So Sukadeva Goswami describes to Maharaj Parikshit that just as the rays of the sun are reflected on the rising moon, Vishnu in the heart of Vasudeva was reflected into the heart of Devaki, where he took residence. And from the heart of Devaki, he then took his residence in her womb. So this is the way the Supreme Lord was transported from Vasudeva to Devaki. And when Devaki received the Supreme Lord within her heart and within her womb, you can imagine the Supreme Lord, how brilliant he is. She became brilliant, so beautiful. And Kamsa, he was watching. He was watching and he saw his sister, how beautiful she had become. And he realized, certainly Vishnu has now entered her womb. He became terrified. She was like, if you have fire and you put the fire into a jug, the fire does not expand, it's captured. If you have a great education but you don't use that education, it becomes useless. So this is what Devaki was like. She was imprisoned in the dark cell of the prison, and the Supreme Lord was within her womb, and she was shining brilliantly. And Kamsa was just becoming more and more fearful of the appearance of Vishnu. Now, on this night, very auspicious things happened. First of all, Krishna did not stay in the womb for the entire 9-10 months that a child usually does. It was only the 8th month. And this particular night was most auspicious. Krishna decided to appear on this night, and because of his appearance, all of the directions became auspicious. In the sky, the Rohini Nakshatra, who is under the charge of Lord Brahma, everything in the sky became auspicious. Everything on the land became auspicious. The Brahmins who had not been allowed to fulfill all of their sacrifices, their fires started to blaze again. In the waters, the fish, there was rumbling of clouds. Everything was just perfectly suited. Now, before this auspicious night came, the demigods could understand, because it was part of the Lord's plan, that Vishnu was in the womb of Devaki. So they would come secretly, incognito, into the prison cell and offer beautiful prayers to Vishnu in the womb. These prayers, they're absolutely beautiful. Some of them we may know by heart, such as those who consider themselves to be liberated unless they take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. They're not actually liberated, the Mayavadis. Then the 10 different aspects of the body. The Atma is within the body, that's number 1. The Atma enjoys, as the Paramatma is watching, the 2 fruits, distress and happiness, under the influence of the 3 modes of nature, in order to enjoy the fruits of the 4 Purush Artha, Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. The 5, what's the 5th? Number 5. All right, number 6. Number 6 is these 6 whips that while the living entity, the Atma, is trying to enjoy in the body, simply getting whipped by hunger, thirst, lamentation, grief, then 7, the body is covered by the 7 different layers, and then 8, in the 8 different elements, they're in all directions of the body, and then 9, the 9 different gates of the body, how one tries to enjoy through those 9 gates, and finally 10, which I also forget. So these different prayers were offered by the demigods to Devaki while Vishnu was in her womb, and they would come regularly and assure her that she doesn't have to be afraid of Kamsa, because this is Vishnu. There's no way that Kamsa can kill the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So now Kamsa, he was waiting for Vishnu to appear, the 10 directions, right? Kamsa was waiting for Vishnu to appear, and on this auspicious night, at midnight, the Supreme Lord did not come out of the womb of Devaki like an ordinary child. He appeared outside of the body of Devaki in his original Vishnu form, but childlike. He had in his forearms the Shankha, the conch, the lotus, the club, and what's the 4th one? And the disc. And he was in a childlike form. He was fully decorated with Kaustubha gem, with Vaidurya money helmet, with the Srivats mark on his chest. He had ornaments. His hair was full, black. No baby is born like that. He was dressed in yellow garments with a beautiful shawl also. And he was smiling very sweetly to his mother and father. Now, when Vasudeva saw this beautiful form of the Lord, of course, being a great devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord, he could understand that now Vishnu has appeared, and he began to offer beautiful prayers to the Supreme Lord. Then Devaki, she began to offer beautiful prayers. But Devaki, she was in a state of extreme fear. Because of her motherly affection, she was afraid that just as Kamsa had come and like a beast killed all of her previous 6 sons, she feared that as soon as Kamsa heard that this beautiful child in the form of Vishnu had just appeared, he would certainly come and kill this baby also. This was her motherly affection. She forgot that if it's Vishnu, there's no question of Vishnu being killed by a puny little demon. So her prayers were that, please, hide this form of Vishnu and just become an ordinary little baby so that Kamsa doesn't understand who you actually are. So then, out of compassion for his mother and father, Vishnu, he began to explain that you have been my mother and father for other births also. At the time of Swayambhuva Manu, you were the Prajapati, Sutapa. And when Lord Brahma ordered you to produce progeny, you and your wife Prishni, for 12,000 celestial years, you performed severe austerities just to have me as your son. I became your son at that time as Prishni Garbha. And I promised you, I was so pleased with your austerities and your pure devotion to me, you didn't even ask for liberation. You simply wanted to have me as your son. So I promised you that I would take birth as your son 3 times. And then in the next millennium, you were Aditi and Kashyapa. And I took birth as your son Upendra, the younger brother of Indra. And I was in a dwarf form, so I was also called Vamanadev. Now in this third birth, as Vasudeva and Devaki, I am again appearing as your son. And my purpose is not actually to kill the demons, because the demons can be killed with just one kick of material energy. My purpose is to display my loving pastimes in Brajadam. So now I will take the form of a small child. And Vasudeva, I want you to take me to my eternal abode of Vrindavan and keep me there. Mother Yasoda has just given birth to a young girl child. I want you to place me in the maternity home of Mother Yasoda and take that girl child and bring that girl child back here to Mathura. So Vasudeva, being a pure devotee, completely dedicated to whatever the Lord has ordered him, he immediately took this child, and because Yogamaya had just appeared in Braja, being all-powerful, she arranged that all of the guards fell asleep, all of the bolted and chained doors opened up automatically, and the chains that were holding Vasudeva also fell loose. So then Vasudeva was able to pick up this little child and very easily carry him out of the palace and the prison. Now, because of the beautiful atmosphere that had been created by Krishna's appearance, there was also rain, and the rain became torrential. So then Anantadev, he covered Vasudeva and the small baby so that Vasudeva could walk to the Jamuna River. And because of the rain, Jamuna was in spate, big waves, floods coming. And just as when Lord Ram wanted to cross the ocean, the Gulf, to get to Lanka, the ocean gave way. So the Jamuna River similarly gave way to Vasudeva, so he could very easily carry the small child to Gokul. There in Gokul, by the influence of Yogamaya, all the cowherd men were sleeping very deeply. And even Mother Yasoda, because she had gone into labor, she was going to deliver, but then nothing happened. So she fell into a deep sleep, and all of the other assistants of her were not in the room. She was resting alone. So when Yogamaya appeared there, Vasudeva was very easily able to enter into the Prasutigar, put the baby Krishna down on the bed of Mother Yasoda, and pick up the newborn baby girl and bring her back to Mathura. When he reached Mathura, he entered again into the prison chamber. He locked up his arms again with the chains so that Kamsa would not understand what had happened. So then the baby started to cry. When the guards heard the baby cry, they immediately informed Kamsa that the baby is born. Kamsa came in a rage, ready to kill that baby. And when he entered into the chamber, he grabbed up the baby and was just about to dash her on the ground, on the stone, when that baby girl flew up into the sky. And again, Kamsa, you fool! And she gave her message to Kamsa. Kamsa then, seeing his worshipable deity, criticizing him, calling him a fool, he realized that there's nothing I can do now. And he fell down at the feet of Vasudeva and Devaki. He begged them for forgiveness, but Vasudeva, he couldn't trust anything that Kamsa was doing. So at this time, now Lord Krishna, he has accomplished his mission. He has appeared in the dynasty of the Yadus. He has now gone to his eternal abode of Vrindavan, and with the loving eternal parents of Nanda and Yashoda, he will begin to let the world see his loving pastimes in Vrindavan, because these Vrindavan pastimes are the most attractive, as described in this purport. It is only in Vrindavan that one can take part in loving affairs. So Krishna, out of his kindness, he manifested the loving affairs in Vrindavan between himself and his devotees, just to attract devotees such as ourselves to go back to Godhead. And then after 11 years, when Akrura was sent by Kamsa, Krishna then he never left himself, but in his Vasudeva form, he went with Akrura and began his Mathura and Dwarka pastimes. So we have a little bit of the glories of Krishna's pastimes described today. When Srila Prabhupada was present here, I was with Prabhupada on 2 Janmashtamis, first being in New Vrindavan. And what Srila Prabhupada did was, he would have us read Krishna book. Read and read and read and read until midnight. You must have been there, it was 72, right? We read until midnight. Here also in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada, he was not well. It was 1974 because of the tension that the temple not being ready in time. But still, the whole Janmashtami night, he sat here at his Vyasasan, and we all sat with him. The whole night, we read Krishna book. So this Krishna book, Prabhupada explains that if one simply reads the Krishna book, one can develop his pure love of Godhead. So today, at the Hindi section, we're reading Krishna book straight through, and each one of us, though only a little portion of Krishna's pastimes we've described in this class, you spend your day absorbed in Krishna Leela, reading the Krishna book from start to finish, and then you'll be able to develop your love for Krishna, which is the exact reason why Prabhupada has given us Krishna book and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai. Questions? Yes, Prabhu? Okay. He's going to bring you the...
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. You have taken up such a task of telling about the birth of Kamsa itself. That's really wonderful. My question is, Krishna has taken appearance in a unexpected time, that is midnight, unto Amavasya, to Astami.
Astami.
Wherein in our Hindu tradition we call it's not that auspicious. Auspicious.
Yes.
And materialistic terms.
Yes.
Can you explain us why he has taken Astami as the Tithi, Amavasya and midnight as the time for his appearance?
Well, you see, Lord Krishna, because in this appearance he appeared in the Soma Banks, the dynasty of the moon. He appeared early before the full duration of the pregnancy, and he appeared on an Astami. But because the moon was so elated that Krishna had appeared in his dynasty, that the moon itself became a full moon on that night. And you can read the description, Sukadeva Goswami describes how all of the elements, they displayed their most auspicious qualities. The air, the ether, the water, the ground, and all of the living entities, they also were jubilant at the appearance of the Supreme Lord. So everything, for instance, the lotus flowers bloom in the daytime. But because of Krishna's appearance at midnight, even the lotus flowers bloomed. The birds, they were singing in the middle of the night. The bees were buzzing in the middle of the night. All the living entities, they became so jubilant by Krishna's appearance that every living entity, every element, every direction was celebrating the Supreme Lord's appearance. So this is just I have not such a big brain. I can't explain all of the different elements, but how auspicious that time became when Krishna chose to appear at that specific time.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
So Kamsa imprisoned Vasudeva and Devaki, and it seemed like Krishna allowed them to stay in prison for, 8 years or so like that?
Been, yeah.
Doesn't this seem a little bit, the Supreme Lord allows his mother and father to be tortured by Kamsa. Doesn't that seem a little, maybe Krishna should have arranged something else for Vasudeva and Devaki instead of keeping them in prison for 8 years?
Well, there were many things going on at the same time, because the 6 sons of Marichi had to be liberated, and they had to produce the 6 sons. And there is a description that sometimes they were allowed to go home, but at this time, during, when the 8th was about to appear, they were definitely in the prison house. So it depends whose commentaries you're reading, but we're just going to stick to Krishna book. And according to Krishna book, they were in the prison the whole time. And that was so that they could quickly give birth to the 6 sons, then the 7th so-called miscarriage, and then finally the 8th son.
Krishna Mataji, you mentioned that Kamsa in his previous life, he was killed by Vishnu.
Yes.
And that's why he came to take revenge. But if he was killed by Vishnu in his last life, why was he not liberated?
Why wasn't he liberated?
Yeah, because when somebody gets killed by Vishnu, they get liberated, correct?
Well, it's just like, for instance, there was Ravana and Kumbhakarna. They were not instantly liberated because they were killed by Vishnu. And then again they took birth after that. Who came after that? Hiranyakashipu and who? And Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were first. They were killed by Vishnu, right? And then they took birth as Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And now they're taking birth as Shishupal and Dantavakra. And Krishna is the only one who can send them back to the spiritual world. So 2 times they were killed by Vishnu, and now Krishna is going to kill these demons personally. So that's why in the Vishnu incarnations, they went on to take other forms so that finally they could be killed personally by Krishna and finish off their curses. But even after Krishna killed those, Jai and Vijay, they wanted to take birth again to take part in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So they took birth as Jai and Madhai. And then they were able to become devotees, which is better than liberation, and take part in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. So,
Thank you, Mataji. And one more question. Once Kamsa heard from Narada that all the demigods were going to take birth, why at that time he did not change his mind and still kill Devaki before the children were born?
Why what?
Once Kamsa heard
What was the question?
after hearing from Narada that the demigods are taking birth, why did he not kill Devaki? Why did he wait for all the children to be born?
Well, because he understood diplomatically that he was weighing, he wanted to kill her, but he said, she's my sister, she's pregnant, and she's under my care. She's living in my palace. And if I kill a woman who's completely under my care, who's pregnant, and my sister, I'll go to hell. And my reputation will be destroyed. So in order to save his own reputation, he didn't kill her. He just concentrated, I'm just going to kill the baby. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Regarding appearance of Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada in one of the first chapters of Bhagavatam 10th canto, he mentions, quoting Vishnu Chagri Thakur, like exactly in Mathura, Vasudeva appeared. In Mathura, originally the Krishna appeared through the womb of Yashoda Mai.
Oh no, we're not going to discuss that in this class. We're just sticking to Krishna book.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada mentions this actually.
Not in the first 3 chapters, he doesn't mention it. He only mentions that Krishna and Yogamaya are brother and sister, but he doesn't go into the details. So I'm not going to overstep what Prabhupada has to say in this class. And you can,
I'm sorry, it's in Prabhupada book actually.
when you give a class, you can discuss those
Sure.
details. Thank you. I'm just going to stick, Yes, there are many. Jiva Goswami gives full description. All the Goswamis give description, but that's not the subject matter of this class. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, the concept, the seventh child transferred to the womb of Rohini. So this is
What was what?
Balamji transferred to the womb of Rohini.
Yes, was transferred to the womb of Rohini.
So how this concept is so advanced medically also. So how the society accepted this? Like
How what?
how like people in general accepted this? How it is?
How did she do it?
Yeah, how it is accepted? Like in general, how we understand? Like how people accept it? Like this is.
Well, the mystic opulences. The mystic opulences, the yogis used to perform great austerities to attain mystic opulences. But nowadays, the modern scientists, they're able to get the same mystic opulences just by their scientific inventions. So nowadays, there's something called surrogacy, correct? For instance, one of the mystic opulences is that you can enter into stone. So now they have subways, easy. They don't have to perform tapasya in the Himalayas. They just make a subway. So similarly, nowadays, through surrogacy is you plant the embryo into one womb, it's removed and planted into another womb. So that's even the scientists can do that. It's not rocket science anymore. Okay? How she did it, you have to ask her. But it's being done even by the modern day scientists from one womb to another. Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So you mentioned, I think, 2 reasons why Krishna took birth from Vasudeva and Devaki. You mentioned 2 reasons. why Krishna took birth from Vasudeva and Devaki and
Yes.
didn't just straightly took birth from Yashoda.
Yes.
I
Then went to the home of Nanda and Yashoda.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a question actually before, like why didn't he just take birth from Yashoda? But I think you mentioned two reasons. One is that he promised Vasudeva and Devaki.
Yes.
And the other one was that he promised also the Yadu dynasty that he will be born there.
What?
He was supposed to be born in the Yadu dynasty.
Yes. Well, the Nanda Maharaj, the inhabitants of Braja are also members of the Yadu dynasty. But in order to fulfill his promise to Vasudeva and Devaki, they would get 3 births with him as their son. He took birth as their son, but he didn't stay there. As soon as he took birth, he went to his real parents, Nanda and Yashoda. Krishna's tricky. They didn't get to enjoy his childhood pastimes, because those pastimes, only the pure love of the inhabitants of Vrindavan can enjoy. Okay. Any more questions?
Hare Krishna. Mataji, after this pastime, he went to Dwarka and performed the activities in Dwarka. So,
I couldn't understand you, I'm sorry.
Krishna went to Dwarka. After finishing Mathura and Vrindavan, he went to Dwarka.
Yes.
Then he never came back to Vrindavan.
Yes.
So, the lamentation of the gopis and this one were lamenting for Krishna that
I couldn't understand that part.
gopis were lamenting for Krishna.
Gopis were lamenting for Krishna,
Yeah.
yes.
But he did not come. He was in Dwarka, but he met them in Kurukshetra.
He what did?
He met them in Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra.
He met them in Kurukshetra, yes.
Kurukshetra.
Yes.
Yes. So this separation time, which the gopis were always thinking about Krishna.
Yes.
So similar way, we should also think of Krishna in that way, or we should think in different way.
Should we think of... You mean in the mood of separation?
Yeah.
According to Lord Chaitanya, that's the topmost meditation in the mood of Vipralamba Bhav. And that's the special gift given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this Vipralamba Bhav. That it's more powerful than Sambhog to meditate on the Supreme Lord, because with that meditation, you're actually with Krishna when you're in separation from Him. So, of the two, Vipralamba Bhav is considered superior to Sambhog. And that's our meditation. That we're, just as the 6 Goswamis, in the Sad Goswami Astakam, Srinivasacharya, he describes that the 6 Goswamis, they were always wandering throughout Braj. That where are you, O son of Nanda? Are you at the Jamuna? Are you at the... They're always searching for Krishna. And in that way, always looking for Krishna, they kept Krishna in their heart.
Thank you.
So that is the ultimate of pure love, in separation to be aspiring for his association.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Jai.